Welcome back, everyone, to Blue Collar Startup. I'm your co-host, Mike Nelson from 5 Towers Media, here with visionary founder and the main host of the show, Derek Foster.
When did I become the main host?
You've always been the main host. I'm trying to stay in the co-hosting category.
I did one episode on my own.
Yeah, it was a great episode, I thought.
Thanks.
I thought I was
Appreciate it.
I was like a little worried. I'm like, Derek's going to text me like, hey, I don't need you to do this with me anymore, but
couldn't do it without you, Mike.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Thank you. So we're joined here today by Ben Rieth. I had to actually ask Ben like 10 times before the show how to spell his name. I have to say it so I don't mess it up because I mess up everyone's names. Ben, thank you for joining us.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ben's joining us. He's from Daigle Firing. Wow. I am so caffeinated. Listen, I'm going to apologize to Ben, all the listeners, everyone. I'm so caffeinated right now that my brain is moving faster than my mouth is able to. So, but we're gonna back that up again. Ben Rieth from Daigle Fire Solutions. Thanks for joining us again, Ben. Listen, I'm really excited about having you on today for a few reasons. A big one is because it's a new business. Newer, let's say, right?
Yep.
And so I think a lot of people that would be in a similar situation as you with a young company, one of the primary things is what? Sales, right? And so really excited to talk to you about what you're doing and not only the wins, but some of the struggles and things and maybe lessons that you've been learning on that. And also, you're an engineer, right? Is that correct? You have an engineering background?
So Ben's actually a Clarkson grad.
Oh, okay.
So you got Clarkson and RPI in the same room.
Oh, very nice.
I have the degree. Very little engineering's done, though.
Okay. But my big thing is that engineers are typically not salespeople. And so there's a perspective. I should say that most people are not salespeople. So, and let's say normal people are not sales, but it's the people that are like Derek or myself that are like, we love sales, and it's weird for most people that we love sales. But so really excited to have that conversation with you with that background, the engineering background, a non-sales background. And I have to imagine that one of your jobs, biggest jobs, is generating revenue for the new business, right? So really excited to have that conversation with you and just kind of hear about how it's going and what you're doing and all that fun stuff. So thank you a ton for joining us. And so let's get right into it. Go ahead and just give us kind of the quick, what is Daigle Fire Solutions and, what do you guys do?
Sure. We're an extension of the janitorial space, so primarily based in commercial kitchens. So vent, hood cleaning, the kind of full system, full gamut, top to bottom. Do a bunch of steam cleanings as well. Overall kitchen cleans, like I say, it's typically involved with the NFPA code 96, and then we have just an overarching category within the janitorial space. Okay.
And that's the NFPA 96. That's the code, like basically you have to get these hoods cleaned and certified, right? Or like you basically got to get a sticker.
Exactly. Yeah, it's
right?
A governing body. It's the National Fire Protection Agency.
Because if you don't get it cleaned,
at risk, susceptible to fire.
Yeah.
It's government-based, right? So regulatory body.
And if you've ever seen the inside of those hoods, they can get pretty gross if they haven't been cleaned.
You can take a look at our website. And
you got some good pictures on there?
We do.
Some befores and afters?
Yep.
Very nice.
Quite a few restaurants Derek and I have, dropped off the list of places we'd eat to.
Yeah. So, how long have you guys had Daigle Fire? And I should also say that too, right? We should, full disclosure here, everyone. Daigle Fire Solutions. Derek is also involved. I don't know what words are, right? But you're a part of that organization as well. And if you know that he also has Daigle Cleaning Solutions. And
well, I figured we're up here and we're on and talking about blue collar businesses and inspiring the next generation, and we're all doing it. We're in it. We're in the day to day, and I saw an opportunity in the market, and brought it to Ben. I figured he would be a perfect fit and partner with his experience and some of his strengths. So we combined forces, and we took off from there. It took us about 6 months to get things to a point where we could launch them. And, we got training. We had a lot of training that we had to go through. We went down. Ben went down to Florida to get certified.
Oh, no kidding.
So yeah, it was a bit of a process. So a little bit different than the other business, but now we're up and running, and things have been rolling along.
So it took you 6
nicely.
months to really get, so you could even open the doors, so to speak, right? Quote unquote.
Yeah.
And then how long have you actually been doing jobs?
3 months now.
3 or 4.
Okay.
So
That's great. So what did you do before?
I worked in like a engineering project management space.
Okay.
So typically in 2 different industries, semiconductor and then oil and gas.
So nothing to do with hood cleaning
Not a thing.
or running a business
Nope.
or sales.
Nope.
So you've got balls the size of like this building. I mean, that's a big change, right? Like, what
Yep.
are you normally a risk taker? I don't know.
To some extent.
Yeah.
It helps having a partner. So that does kind of, if somebody to bounce ideas off, it takes a little bit of the guesswork out of it. But yeah, the first step is always the worst, right?
Yeah. What was that like going into it?
There's no turning back.
Yeah.
So it's nice to make a decision and then run with it.
Like, were you like? I'm curious to hear about. I'm sure people listening too would be like. Derek came to you with this idea. I mean, you guys obviously knew each other already, but like, what were you already thinking about doing something different? You wanted to not do what you were doing, or?
I'd called Derek. I couldn't get anybody to fix a roof on my rental, so I wanted to start a roofing company.
Okay.
Derek put the kibosh on that.
I said, wait a minute, we got
a better idea. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really the genesis of it.
That was how it started.
Yep.
That's
Ben and I, we've been friends for a while, and that always doesn't mix well with business, right?
Yeah.
But there's a certain professionalism, and I think we work really well together, and can separate the two.
Mm-hmm.
We've had several conversations over the years about eventually Ben wanting to start a business, so I kind of knew that. And the hardest part is getting started, right?
Mm-hmm.
And making the decision to go, and then there's no turning back, right?
Yeah.
So
you got to commit.
And we've had Devin Kamengay on,
Yeah.
and some other guests, and they talked about working their full-time job, then making the transition, but starting that business while they're working their full-time job, right? So this is a perfect example of that, and doing things the smart way and gradually building traction and gaining traction. It's cool. It was a big commitment, and he made the decision to jump on board, and now we're 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, the transition is always a great thing to talk about, especially for people listening, because people always have that question. There's so many people that want to start their own business, they want to do their own thing, and they're just trying to figure out, how do I go from where I am to being that business owner? And so, what was that transition like for you?
In what sense?
Well, were you working full time and then you just completely quit? So you just basically were like, "Hey, I'm going to live off my savings," or like like with Devin's situation, he was a administrator for a school and he was doing construction part time, and then was able to sell a couple of big jobs that would keep him working for about 6 months, and that gave him the ability to leave, the safety of the salary behind and kind of do his own thing. And then while he was working those big, that one big job, he's like, well, I got 6 months to start filling up my calendar with work. And that's what he did. That's what he focused on. So that's how he made that transition from working in a non-blue collar field and having a salaried, we'll call it a safe position, to going out on his own. So I'm curious about your story with, what was it like for you to go, did you stay in that job for a little bit while you're going through the training, or did you just cut it right off and jump right in? Like, what did that look like for you, going from working for someone to being your own man, so to speak?
That's a good question. I probably have a little bit of a unique perspective. So I still work full time.
You do?
Yep. I have a couple things in my favor, some flexibility in a work from home schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And then I service a West Coast based project. So it provides quite a few hours in the morning before that team wakes up, where I can answer emails, run the job sites, work with Derek. And then, as any entrepreneur, the nights tend to get longer and longer. So Derek and I had a conversation at 9 o'clock last night. So you kind of split the difference. I have to have my priorities in line and definitely still put my job first. Then this is something that we're growing on the side. So
Okay.
as Derek alluded to, it is picking up steam. pretty quick.
Yeah. And you guys have team members.
No pun intended.
And you guys have team members that are doing the work. So it's not like you have to go and clean the hood yourself. You're not going and doing that.
Oh, we have. Listen, you know, I'm very hands-on with a lot of stuff. So, you know, we did, and we still jump in and help out the teams. But we do have hired, a really great team that does, the majority of the day-to-day in the field work. But there's still a lot of support in this business that goes along with that.
Well, yeah, there's the scheduling and the project management side, which sounds like you probably got a pretty solid handle on. But I didn't realize that you were still doing your other job too. So that's cool. So you are, so what's your long-term plan? Are you trying to build this up, so to speak, so that you're able to at some point let go of the project management, or maybe you love that, so you like, or it's such a good gig, you're just going to keep doing that too, or?
Well, up in the air. I mean, I think the end goal for any entrepreneur is to switch over full time.
Yeah.
That may be a little short-sighted right now. I have a very good job, very happy to have it. It's provided me quite a few unique opportunities. I've been very fortunate even from a young age. Derek and I have been friends for over a decade now, but at 22 I left and went to Houston. So I got my first kind of taste of that project management life. I was working for an oil and gas company. So it's been very good to me. I speak incredibly highly of that experience, but on the other side of it is also the desire to create something for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, do your own thing. So you're a little more involved than I realized then, Derek. Is that true? It's a good division of responsibility. Okay. So, the way that I looked at it going in was, we have, on the cleaning side, a loyal and great client base that we've built, trust with. And I saw this as an opportunity to add on a service, but at the same time, I didn't have the time, necessarily to be involved in all the operational things. Yeah. Right. So, hence the skill set, that Ben has, it was a good fit there. Mm-hmm. So really what I do is I help on the sales side of things. Again, another opportunity for me to do what I really enjoy doing, and that's creating solutions for clients and helping them out. But we were already in a lot of restaurants and doing a lot of jobs, and a lot of buildings that we service had kitchens. And for me, we're there. It's another conversation. So it's always in the back of my mind. If we see an opportunity to help a client, mm-hmm. We can help you with that. Yeah. And especially with something as serious as keeping in compliance with, a jurisdictional code. Yeah. It can get a little bit tricky. It's interesting too, because it's still, I think it's important. One of the things that you just said is really important to think about, because you're already having conversations with this group of people, right? Like, it's not like it's a completely different set of, I guess maybe it is a different set of tools, but it's not like it's completely so far away from what you're already doing that it creates a distraction and something that pulls you away from your normal day-to-day business, right? It's complementary to what you're already doing. Exactly. Yeah, and I just think that that's such a huge thing. I know, like, Gino Wickman talks about it in his book Traction. He tells a story about a company, and I can't remember what they did, but they decided to get into like commercial real estate, and it ended up just being this huge distraction. It just pulled them away from what their core focus was, and just ended up not only losing money in the real estate business, but also losing money on their primary business as well. And that's when they realized, like, you gotta stay closer to your core focus. But in this situation, it's so complementary. It's not really a distraction. It's like an add-on almost. Yeah, and we cross-utilize resources as well. Yeah. So it's another avenue for our employees to get training and certified. Right. It's another stepping stone for them to advance their career. Yeah, so that's great. It works pretty well with what we're doing. Yeah, and obviously, you already got so many great systems in place for doing this kind of work. That's huge. Yeah. But it was, it's a lot of work. It was a lot of work getting things set up and situated and figuring out how we were going to do it and what our processes were going to look like and how we were going to be different and do things differently from the competition. Yeah. And I'll let Ben talk a little bit more about that. But once we had that in place, we were able to utilize the resources that, we had on
the cleaning side.
Yeah.
And
Well, so tell us
deploy
about
them
some of
here.
that stuff, Ben.
Sure. So the training, the efficiencies, process as a whole. One of the things that Derek and I have noticed since we started is that the majority of people in this space are owner operators.
Mm-hmm.
So it's somebody on site 24/7 who's monitoring their team, and they handle everything, soup to nuts, top to bottom.
Yeah.
We've taken a little bit of a different approach and trying to turn it into kind of an independent business. So that requires more trust in your employees, setting them up for success. So the processes, the overall way that we attack a project, those are things that we had to go through training. We've had a ton of failures. I mean, we could talk for hours about our first couple jobs, and if it could go wrong, it did go wrong.
Yeah.
But you make note of it. We learned, we adjusted and adopted our processes, and then we've been able to hand that off to other individuals and run with it.
I mean, thank God that those things always happen in the beginning,
Oh yeah.
right? Like, because they do. They show you real quick of where your gaps are and where you need to make changes. And if it's happening in the beginning, it's like, okay, that's good. A lot of good lessons learned to make you great later on.
Yeah.
If it happens later on, though, it's like, oops.
It always happens. You have the concept in your head. Hey, this is going to be great. We're gonna go out, we're gonna do all this, and then you get punched right in the face.
Oh, that's my favorite thing about entrepreneurs in general is the optimism that they have. Like, I'm gonna make so much money next week, right? And then 2 years later, like, all right, I'm still grinding it out. I haven't made that money yet, but we always think we're gonna.
There's always a problem,
Yeah.
and you just have to be solution oriented. And we're working on getting some of our folks to be that way, make decisions, be solution oriented, right? And really give them the ability to operate within the framework that we've built.
Yeah. So what, go ahead.
I got a funny story with that. So we just started our most expensive asset is our pressure washer. So Derek and I had ordered it. It showed up.
I know where this is going.
Yeah, we took an evening off from work. We were sitting at the warehouse and just wanted to get the thing up and running, make sure that we were prepared. Yeah. Pulled open the oil and it was a little bit low, so read the instructions, figured it needed another quart or so, started the thing up, turned around, we're spraying the water, happy as can be, turned back around, the machine's on fire. So we had doubled the amount of oil that it needed, and it had basically cycled through and was burning off. So here we are, we're not even at day one, and I had just
Set the machine on fire.
I thought
We had smoke in the warehouse. I thought the sprinklers were going to go off. Oh yeah.
it was awesome.
It was awesome.
Ended the business before we started.
Yeah. Did the machine recover, or did you have to buy a new machine?
That was great. We turned it back on. I knew what we had to do. We had to burn the rest of it off, so put some more black smoke out in the world.
Yeah, but rolled it outside instead of in the shop.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So lesson learned number one: how much oil?
Yeah.
Or was the lesson that read the instructions?
Probably a little bit of both.
A little bit of both. Yeah. So what does your day-to-day look like?
Wake up, pretty much relatively early riser. My fiance gets up really early, go to work. She works out beforehand, so we're typically up decently early.
What's early?
6.
Okay.
That's
It's early.
yeah. I mean, we start a lot of jobs at 5, so some days are worse than others. But,
Sure.
if that's like a target, I like to catch up with the news. After that, we'll typically cover anything that's on the Daigle side first thing in the morning. Our operations start anywhere from 8, 9, or 10 on our time, so it's a little bit earlier on the West Coast, but I like to make sure I'm at my computer for that.
Mm-hmm.
Work through the day, somewhere around 6 or 7, typically try to slow down, catch a dinner, bite to eat. Like I said, Derek and I have quite a few phone calls that go a little bit later into the evening. Then you rinse and repeat. It's funny, it sounds like a lot, and we were just having dinner with our family, and I was talking to my uncle who's in his 70s, and for him that was a light day of work. The
Right.
mentality between the generation before us and us is vastly different.
Yeah, the 12-hour workday versus the 8. Well, you're working what? 20, 25-hour work days, Derek?
No.
I'm like, I know how much stuff you do. I'm like, man, this guy never sleeps.
You learn how to be more efficient, and I'm very fortunate because we have a great team and a lot of people that can help out, and that own their positions. I mean, we've had Eric on, and we got a lot of people who are very dedicated and have bought into the business and what we're doing. So, I'm able to be more strategic with what I'm working on day to day and structure my week so that it all fits together.
Yeah. So 3 months. Do you think, greatest mistake or challenge that you overcome was setting the machine on fire, or was there something else that was maybe a bigger challenge or something that you had to overcome so far?
2 days later, I think we flooded a system and had grease water dripping all over some guy's restaurant. So that was, again, learning experience, take it in stride. I thought we handled it well, although it was unfortunate in the moment. And there's probably a dozen more like that.
A dozen more like that, yeah. I've always thought that and I don't know if this is correct or not, but I always thought that it's not so much whether or not you make mistakes, it's what you do after the mistake, right? And how you recover, and the customer service aspect of how you handle it and how you make it right. But what did you have to do in that situation?
We switched gears real quick. We had a completely different team. It was kind of our first group of individuals. Mm-hmm. So we called the shop. We had somebody deliver a shop vac. We were able to suck it from the top down. Open, honest communication with the owner. It was a little bit of a mad dash and a scramble. He wanted to open up. He wanted to get ready for his lunch service, and we owed it to him to hand him a working restaurant in the manner that we had found it.
Yeah, and with what we're doing, it's very important. Every second that we're holding the client up, they can't prepare. They can't,
can't run their business.
Can't run their business.
Yeah. No kidding.
I had a manager in oil and gas who, big fan of Jocko. I'm sure you guys are familiar with him as well. And whenever there was
of the willing variety,
whenever there was a problem, he would say, "Good, problems bode themselves well for solutions."
Yeah.
So we've taken that a lot. Every day there's a hurdle, something you have to jump over. We're trying to transition the train of thought from it's very easy to bring up issues and discover problems. It's much more difficult to propose a solution.
Mm-hmm.
If you can do them both, the conversation tends to go a little bit better.
Wasn't that really what we all get? I feel like every business, every entrepreneur, really what we're getting paid to do is to solve a problem of some sort, right? The problem that your clients have is their hoods are all greasy and gross, and they need to be, safe and not catching on fire, right? And so you solve that problem. I know, for us on the marketing side, right? There's so many different problems that we solve, but the biggest one is that our clients want new clients, and they need to get the word out, and that's our job. So it's just nothing but problem solving. So the idea, right, that a lot of people come up with, where they're I just wish and I hear it. I just wish things would go smoothly for a bit. It's no, things are not supposed. If they went smoothly, people wouldn't need us.
Exactly.
Right. I don't know. Maybe that's just my headspace, but
no, 100%.
Solving problems.
Derek and I met at a Starbucks 3-4 months into it. Everything that could go wrong was going wrong. And he just looked at me and he had that smirk and he goes, if this was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
And it kind of grounds you, right? And it brings into perspective that that's true. It's not supposed to be easy. It's part of the fun.
Yeah, it is part of the fun, right?
You learn to embrace it.
Yeah, it's that's the exciting part. Man, things are really messed up and I got to fix them.
That same manager had a whole bunch of isms, if you will. And one of them was, some people pull the cart, others riding it. It's best you figure out which one you are. All right. I can see that. So it's a lot easier to get on the wagon than it is to pull it.
Yeah. What was this manager's first name?
Travis.
So they're Travisisms.
Yeah. Again, there's probably another dozen of those.
Yeah, start sending them over to Derek and me whenever you come across one. I got another Travisism for you. Send it up. We'll get a shirt made. So, what do you think lessons learned? Right. So, 3 months, 6 months. What do you think the biggest lesson that you've learned from operating a business, your own business for that matter? When all the weight's falling on your shoulders, what do you think it is?
For me, it's pretty simple. Make a decision. It may not be the right decision, if you will, but at least it's a decision. Mm-hmm. Stagnation kills everything. So you move forward, you make a decision. If you need to adapt after the fact or adjust, then you can. But until that first decision's made, nothing's getting done. So that's something that we try and preach to. Make a decision, go with it. If we disagree with it, we can make some sort of corrective action on the back end. But step one is putting that first foot in front of the other.
Yeah. Find out if it works, right?
That's it. And it may not. That's okay.
Right. There's no failure, only feedback.
Yep.
And then make another decision to fix the other bad decision.
That's it.
So, so I'm just curious. Do you find it And I know, Derek, you can answer out. You can weigh in on this too, like, because I know that you juggle a lot of things. You've got your franchise business, you've got Daigle Cleaning, you've got the now Daigle Fire. Obviously, what we're doing with the podcast. Am I missing anything? I feel like I'm missing something. Is that everything?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what do you guys find? From a juggling all those, so you're working a full-time job and trying to build a new business at the same time. Like, what do you guys think is the key to being able to manage those different workloads? And of course, there's the old ism of he who chases two rabbits catches none, right? And you're chasing multiple rabbits. So, what do you think the key is to being successful at that?
You can go first.
It's taken me a long time to learn. I mean, fortunately, I got started in business when I was younger, and you learn from your mistakes, and it took me a while to get the right team in place. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of help, and that's really what it comes down to. So I'm able to delegate certain tasks and things that come up day to day, and allows me to focus on some of the larger problems and the bigger picture, and how everything fits together.
Mm-hmm. So for you, it's your team.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Okay. How about for you?
I think delegating is a huge part of it, right? You have to be able to not focus on the tree and see the forest behind it. So we're often trying to look at the bigger picture. The services, the business that we have today is going to be vastly different than what it is in 3, 6, 12 months from now.
And it's very uncomfortable, by the way. Like that, it doesn't happen overnight.
Being able to rely on your team like that?
Yeah. It took me years. And sometimes I still, it's like you get nervous or have a little bit of anxiety about it, but you have to trust that they're going to be there and handle the responsibilities. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. I know we've recently moved me out of marketing operations completely, so I'm like struggling with that a little bit. Same thing.
Tough.
Yeah, it is tough, man. I'm constantly like trying not to tinker, trying not to meddle, try to stay in my lane, but at the same time, like checking in. Like I'm not allowed in our project management software anymore because I start firing off questions and emails and requests like, what's going on with this? What's going on? They're like, just stay out of that, man. We got it. So, and Ben, I'm curious, is there, so you're kind of going back and forth between business owner and also being an employee for another company, right? Do you find that there's a mental transition for you going back and, because in one scenario, you're the one that's like, it's my ship, I'm the captain, and the other, you're kind of going back and then working for someone else. Is there a transition when you go back and forth between those duties mentally?
I'm fortunate that they're relatively similar.
Yeah.
So we have, a little bit of a larger team, a vastly larger team in my day job, but the end goals are the same. So on the project management side, we're trying to set people up for success, keep the problems away, stay two steps ahead, and at the end of the day, make money. So there's a ton of overlap there. Is it, different working for a big corporation as opposed to owning something? Absolutely. But I think the core values are pretty similar.
That's cool. That's lucky, I guess, right?
It helps for sure.
Yeah. So how much of the selling are you involved in at this point?
Derek would handle the vast majority of it, but that's not to say we each have amassed incredible networks in the area. We've got friends, family members, so the sales for this is interesting. More often than not, it's a service that somebody needs and not that somebody wants. So that's one thing that we have going in our favor. The second is, again, because the majority of people are owner-operators, if you can sit down and have a conversation similar to this, a lot of people are very interested in just having that grounding, neutral conversation. If you can present the problem, the requirement, here's the solution. If you don't like it, hey, here's plan B. We've had a lot of work that's gone our way just from the ability to have a conversation.
Just talking to people.
That's it.
Yeah, not selling, quote unquote, right? Not convincing.
Sure. And being open and honest.
Yeah.
One thing that we've found is there are other operators in the area that may have less of a price at the end of the day, but the quality of the service that you get is going to be greatly diminished. So that's another portion and, part of the conversation. We can match that price. We can hand you a similar service, but if you want something on the higher end, a top-notch quality job, then you call us.
And so what do you guys think is, from if someone has launched or they have a small business or, again, they're trying to get new clients. What do you think, what's the advice that you would give them about new client acquisition for a small company trying to grow their business, right? Like,
Oh, that's easy. I was waiting for that question.
were you waiting for that one?
And nobody's going to like the answer to it. Go talk to people. No, go knock on doors. Make phone calls.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before, Mike. And, I still make cold calls and, reach out to people and see if we can help. And, it's just getting over that, the uncomfortable feeling of doing that and not being afraid of hearing no. That's the biggest thing. Just because you hear no doesn't mean the next person is gonna say no as well. And they may say no now, and 6 months down the road, it's a yes. know. So I kind of I look at it as almost like a competitive game. I'm by nature a pretty competitive person, and there's always goals to hit and goals to reach, and we've set some goals for the company. So we work our tails off to reach those goals. But that's really what it comes down to: having the conversations, getting out there, and backing it up with quality service. That's the biggest piece. They work hand in hand.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Ben's like, I concur. That's it. Bet, would you add anything to that, though?
Can you say the question again?
Just, as far as someone, they have a new business or they're launching a new business, they're a small operation, we'll say, right? Like what advice would you give them about finding new clients, about getting that business in the door when it's, because again, when it's in the beginning stage, it's so important.
Sure. Piggybacking on what Derek said, none of it's going to be comfortable. It's not what you see in a movie. It's not luxurious. It's often not sexy. It's the cold calls. It's speaking to somebody that has, 60 seconds, the elevator type pitch. They don't have all day. They don't want to hear it. You get it out in front of them, give them a chance to make a decision. We're still, 6-9 months into this, getting feedback from clients that we dropped cards off or spoke with 6 and 9 months ago who are, maybe they finished one cycle and they're on to the next and a little bit unhappy with previous service. So it's you drop a whole bunch of seeds and you see what grows.
Yeah.
Being patient, I think Ben alluded to that a little bit. It doesn't all happen at once either. It depends on the sales cycle too for whatever business that you're in.
Yeah, it could be. How long do they have to get their sticker? Once a year? Twice a year?
Depends. Could be a month, could be 3, 6, 12.
Okay.
There's varying scales.
So if you have someone that only needs it every 6 months, that's going to be a longer sales cycle.
Exactly.
Right? Waiting for it to come back around. And
yep.
Yeah, so patience is key. I've learned it over the last couple of years. You have to be patient, with your people. Mistakes are going to happen. Things are going to come up. That's how everybody grows and develops. So, you almost have to let them make those mistakes and learn from them. But same thing in sales. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
You really have to. It's constant effort.
Well, it's funny too because I can't tell you how many times we have people that come to us, the marketing company, right, and they're looking for a marketing solution, and they're a small business. Like we recently just had a guy who had come to us, and small business, one-man operation. He might be doing 60, 70 grand a year, right, and just in his own personal stuff, and I'm like, listen, you don't need a marketing company. You need to go out and hang flyers, hang door hangers, knock on exactly what you said too. It's like,
I mean, if you have a website and you can set up a social media presence and the leads are going to come in, but what are you going to do when they come in? Somebody's still got to have the conversation and move things forward.
Yeah. So you need that person.
Yeah.
How about any other words of wisdom? I know that I don't want to keep you guys here all day. So, and with both of you probably got 20 things you got to do in the next 5 minutes, right? So, if you're going to tell someone launching a young business one thing, what would you tell them?
Do it.
Do it.
There's no time like now. I call it a college curse, which may not be the right term, kind of going back in time real quick, but in Houston, there was a gentleman named Dean, and I always envied him. He was kind of like an idol, not quite a mentor, but an idol. So Dean had started a company, and he was doing nothing but providing services to, like our little oil and gas company, making sheds, basically sweeping dirt, bare bones. He'd become a millionaire off it just because he had seen somebody else that did it and said, I can go do that. So I call it the college curse. For years I overthought things. Could I do it? What's the risk? What's the reward? Pros, cons. You're always going to be susceptible to failure, and it kind of it made me pump the brakes and not quite follow something that I wanted to get into. So having Derek as a mentor in that sense was an awesome way to take that first step off the ledge, and here we are now. We're jumping head first.
Yeah, it's awesome. Derek?
Yeah,
you've done it a few times now.
Everybody has their strengths, and that I think exactly what Ben said. Just do it. If you can spend all of a year putting together a business plan, but if you don't take the first step to get started, and part of the reason why we have Blue Collar Startup is for that reason.
Yeah.
Once. For anybody that's been thinking of starting a business, and we've brought all of these successful business owners and project managers and people who have had excellent careers on here to share their story for that reason. All of them were in the same boat, and they took that step and got started.
So do it. I was going to say just do it, but I don't want to piss Nike off.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Guys, listen, thanks so much, as always, Derek, for everything you have to offer the audience that's listening. And Ben, thanks for coming on and sharing your story and giving us some of the deets.
I appreciate your time. We'll have to do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, we'll in a year, we'll see if you've killed Derek yet or not, or what's going on there. Everyone, thanks for listening. Check us out if you're looking for some other episodes. We are trying to make sure that we're getting things not just around different industries that are blue collar related, but also support system. Companies that support blue collar industries, whether it's through hiring, education. We're really trying to make sure we get everybody on board there. And that we're giving you all the tools. And we're also trying to get some of these episodes a little more focused too on specific topics, whether it be project management or sales or marketing or whatever it is, to try to help you there too.
We got some big shows coming up.
We do have some big shows. I'm excited about all of our guests, but we do have some people that are a little harder to get in front of, we'll say. And so we're excited to have those people coming on board, and really grateful to Luke Michaels, the Michaels Group, for sponsoring and helping us to help other people in the trade. So, we recently were able to give some money to some students, or a student, well-deserving student, HVCC, and we'll be doing the same thing at BOCES here in a couple of weeks. Yeah, I'm really excited about that too. That's going to be fun. And check out the website. You can check out our Instagram account that I post once a week on, or once a month. So I'm on fire right now. I think I've posted like 4 times in the last month, and. But yeah, thanks for listening. Share the show. Anything else?
Appreciate it, guys.
All right.
Drop us some questions. Yeah.
YouTube. You can go on to the videos there, guys. Put questions in the comments, and we'll do our best to get to them. Or you can also email us, hardhat@bluecollarstartup.io. My mouth is moving too fast now. Thanks for listening, everybody.